Hi, I'm Becky with Reb-L-Fit. What's in your food? Do you pay attention to labels? Do you wonder if the food's good for you or not, or if you should be eating it? Let's talk about a few important points. First of all, you should have a good understanding of your food budget for the day. I talk a lot about the importance of macronutrients, proteins, fats, carbohydrates. That's your foundation. Before you start worrying about whether something has high fructose corn syrup in it or sodium, etc., make sure your foundation is set first. Get protein, get carbohydrates, get fats in the meal. Make sure that you're getting the right amounts through the meals and through the days. Once you have your foundation, then you can start layering in the quality of the foods that you eat. So when you look at a label, first thing you want to look at is how many servings are in the food product. If you pick up a package and you intend to eat the entire package of something, check and make sure that the ingredient list or that the nutrition label listed on the package is showing you the full amount of what's in there. It's easy to pick up a package of chips and think that it's one serving in the bag when it's actually two. So the nutrition info is for half of what you actually ate, and then you've gone over. So take a look at that. Then look at how much of the total fat in your food is coming from saturated fat. Fat's good for us. We need fat in the diet. Ideally, the more unsaturated fat or fat that comes from plant foods is going to be best. Saturated fats, fats that are solid at room temperature, animal fats, are not as good for us. So if less than half of your total fat comes from saturated fat sources, then you're in good shape. Then, as I'm working down my ingredient label, I'm going to take a look at the sodium. Sodium's not a bad thing either. It gets a lot of bad press, but you need it in your system. Sodium is part of a muscle contraction. I'm not going to be able to do a bicep curl unless I've actually got some sodium in my diet. But our American diets tend to be really high in sodium, so it is important to keep it level and consistent from day to day. You need at least 1,400 milligrams of sodium in a day, and probably not more than 3,800 or 4,000, but it depends on you. So if you're looking at your foods and keeping your meals around 400 or 500 milligrams of sodium in each one, then again, you'll probably be in really good shape. Pay attention to what your doctor says in making those final decisions though. Then I'm going to look at my carbohydrates. Carbohydrates also include the carbohydrates that come from fibers. And a high fiber product is something that has 5 grams of fiber or more in a serving. Does that mean it's bad for you if it doesn't have fiber? No, not necessarily, but if you need more fiber in your diet, then things that have 5 grams of fat or more, of fiber or more, are going to be the best for you. Sugars, also something to think about. Is sugar bad? Not necessarily, but it's something you want to have in moderation. So food products that have less than 6 grams of sugar in a serving are going to be great. If it's got more, have that particular food item in moderation. Make sure that you've got your proteins and fats along with it. And then I move down to the protein. Protein is a super important part of your diet. If the food that you're eating doesn't have protein in it, or just because the label says it's a high protein food, doesn't mean it's got enough protein for what you need. So look at the grams in there and make sure that if you're not getting it in your food choice, that you add some in. What about the ingredient label? The actual foods that are in the actual items that are in my food. You've heard often that if you can't say it, don't eat it. But what about the long names of vitamins and minerals and things like that? If it's something that you don't eat very frequently, make sure that it fits in your food budget and don't lose a lot of sleep over it. And of course, if you have any allergies, then stay away from those things. But otherwise, if it's something you eat a lot of, then at least find out what those things are if you're eating them. They might not be bad for you at all. Something like xanthan gum or sunflower lecithin, not things that are necessarily bad for me, but it's important that I know what they are if I'm going to eat them a lot. So make good choices, be informed, but first of all, get your foundation set. Get your macros right, be consistent with that, and then make your best choices with the foods that you put in your diet and be aware. Take it easy.